Okay, so now it is 6:08 a.m. in the morning. I've been up since about 4:30. April 24th, 2022. Okay, so we're going to do a little follow-up on this shenanigans that just happened recently right across the street at Debbie's house. Okay? Seriously, people, that was a setup. Okay? I'm going to talk freely on this. Okay? There's no script. I didn't write it down. Okay? I'm talking from experience and just being on this planet for 60 years, okay? And just in light of everything that's been going on in this province. And so anyway, oh boy. So subject to subject to subject. Okay, we'll start with Andre's news, okay? Now he's going into 12 years old. I don't know, for the ones that have been watching my videos for a long time, if you've noticed, his voice is getting deeper. He came in here, said something to me, and it cracked yesterday. He goes, Nana, right? Because I warned him it was going to start doing that, right? Because, you know, I didn't really notice that his voice was getting deeper until recently, and especially when I seen the video, right? In terms of, you know, like Amari, I don't necessarily notice things until I do a video, and then I notice things, or other people notice, you know, he's grabbing out and he's doing more and he's talking more. And well, it's the same thing with Andre. You know, I'm listening to him and you know, I'm looking at his demeanor and you know, his voice is getting deeper, and I pointed that out to him, and I warned him that, you know, his body is going to start changing and that his voice is going to start cracking, and, you know, he's turning into a young man, right? So with that, you know, he plays on a Nintendo Switch or iPad or something, right? And Fortnite and something else he plays, right? And I don't know, it's a real issue, right? Because that's all he wants to do, and you know, so it's like I want to just throw that thing out the door and wish the hell that Tisha never gave it to him. And Tisha's like, oh, but it's the sign of the times, you know. And I'm like, oh my God. Anyway, I guess his little friend plays this stuff too, and then set up a YouTube channel to upload those games. You know how that works, right? Well, Andre's now expressing he wants his own YouTube channel, but he wanted it for Andre's news. Okay. I'm like, so we went through all of that, and of course I'm thinking about it, right? And I'm like, well, you know, I want to nurture, you know, his growth, right? So what's the best way of doing it in terms of, you know, giving him that hands-on experience so that he can develop the skills? Because, you know, Andre doesn't like academics. He just, you know, you ask him to do something when it comes to academics, and he puts his heels to the ground and he bucks the bullet and he argues and he argues and he argues and he shuts down. And you know, it's so frustrating. And this is something that he came back with from foster care people, okay, even after all these years, because he was extremely traumatized in foster care, okay? All right. So, you know, I don't push it, but then on the other hand, you know, so I think being that he's showing an interest in having his own YouTube channel to report on, I guess you could say, local news, you know, I'm trying to broaden the subject matter. So we can talk about housing, right? We can talk about the cost of food, right? We can talk about provincial orders and those kind of things in terms of how it affects society in general, as it goes like this, right? With keeping people uncomfortable because they never know what's coming when it comes to Bonnie Henry, a.k.a. Dr. God, Dr. Death, whatever she is to you, okay? And orders that are antisocial, psychologically damaging, and divides the community. Right? Just subject matters, different subject matters, right? And like I do have tripods, so I'm going to drag them out. I do have other cameras. I'm actually thinking to change this camera and go back into an older camera. But besides that point, I have other cameras I can access. I do have a computer that I can install programs for him to upload on his videos. And I told him, like, Andre, if you want your own channel or your own, news outlet or whatever you want, you can't expect Nana to convert these videos over for you because, I'm just too busy and my eyes and, I'm already doing what I do, right? So if this is something that you want, you're going to have to learn how to do it, okay, right? I'll get everything ready. I'll show him how to do it, right? And then, of course, he's got his little friend. So between the two of them, I don't think it would be long before Andre would actually learn how to do it, even though maybe he struggles with the reading part of it. Just give him the opportunity to do it enough times, and it won't be long before he'll know how to do it. So from that perspective, it's mission accomplished, right? He's doing something productive. So I want to nurture, what he wants to do. I can give him pretty much all the tools and equipment to do what he needs to do. I can broaden the horizon in terms of the subject matter. If you're going to be an alternative news reporter, you've got to talk about housing, the cost of food, are we going into a food shortage from a child's perspective, that is, right? I'm not trying to create a little mini professional Andre here. I'm just giving him the opportunity to grow and to experience things and to develop skills and to be able to use his own critical thinking skills so that by the time he becomes an adult, he'll have some foot on the ground, right? He'll have a little bit of a foundation, right, to steer him away from bad influences, right? Because his background is high risk in terms of both his parents were addicts. He's an orphan from both parents. I'm pretty sure Austin is dead now. Because these young people out here that are addicted to drugs, one by one, people, they're being picked off. Okay? And not only are they being picked off, but individuals like ShaMay, Uncle John, Amari, they're being picked off as well. Okay? It's not just the addicts being picked off here. Homeowners. Now, if that was owned by a Punjabi, that little house, to which all the Punjabis in the neighborhood want that little house, not to mention all the Chinese or the property developers from China want that little house, it wouldn't be a big deal, right? Because they're sitting on a whole whack of cash, the majority of them, and it's just property investment to build either another monster home, because right next to Debbie's house is a huge monster home. Okay? So, by removing Debbie's house now, to which I don't know if that house will ever be repaired, people. Because it was an inheritance. If Debbie's niece still owns that house, you can almost say the city of Surrey is bankrupting her with the provincial government and federal government in terms of... The title of this video is, in part, I know I'm jumping, but what did I write down? Who do you trust? Who do you trust when you're dealing with organized crime? I've been crying it out for years, people. Okay? There is a huge amount of organized crime going on through the public union sector and their partner groups through the private sector, okay, in the province of British Columbia, Canada. There's a lot of money laundering going on, whether it's through the casinos, the housing market, the fentanyl, body parts and organs and teeth and just everything when it comes to a body, okay? Every little bit is salvageable, right? And child trafficking, through the foster care system, that type of thing. Just prostitution, right? Keep them homeless, keep them on the streets, keep them drugged out, right? Keep them so that they're susceptible to social abuse by various individuals, whether they're tricks, whether they're freaking a group of cops, whether they're a group of freaking assholes throwing bags over vulnerable women's heads in hospitals when they're having showers. That's why they don't want me to see Sierra's medical files, people. Because somewhere in there, it's listed in there, and they don't want me to see it. But I already seen it because Sierra came home and told me about it. Okay? And I got it documented with her telling me that in the garage after they released her from doing what they did. Just stupid shit like that, okay? This is what these homeless people are facing. And not only are they facing this, but do you honestly think that this little house is the first and the last incident like this? No, people. I was talking to basically a homeless person a few months ago, as I was walking off to the store or something like that. And she was telling me that her friends, two of them, were murdered in their houses, and she believes that they were in a snuff movie, were forced to have sex with a dog, and that even the dog was murdered. And, of course, the cops didn't solve that murder. Oh, I'm sorry, murders. Right? Okay, like they literally went into somebody's house and did all this shit, did whatever they fucking did and left. And then, the remains were of the people who died and the dog that was dead, and, right? So this is like, they're going after the little houses, people. Okay, that little house is a hindrance to the property development. Okay? Take out the little house, it's easier to take out the rest of the block. I would be very surprised, people, if they gut that house and make it rentable or livable in light of who owns it and in light of the owner having to pay for those shenanigans. Okay? And then quite possibly has also lost her husband through the whole process. Because I don't think the woman left, we'll just say husband, I don't think the woman left the husband, took the kids and left the husband so that her house could be blown out with her husband dying inside of it. And then what? They're going to come back on what with the coroner's report? They can write anything they fucking want. Okay? And she'll never get the truth, people. You see, that's the thing. She'll never get the truth because she'll never be able to get an independent autopsy. And being that she's got money because she owns that house, she could afford to pay for an independent autopsy. But you see, the provincial government back in the day, they changed the legislation to make it where we can't get independent autopsies, whether we're rich or whether we're poor or whether we're middle class and we can afford to do it. because they knew in advance what they were going to do over a period of 10, 15, 20 years in terms of rewriting the province and killing off the Canadian-born people as they bring in the fucking immigrants to replace us. And they bring in the freaking criminals to make sure that shit happens. I told you it was a Punjabi who harvested ShaMay's organs. Okay? He was brought in from Vancouver to do that with his own operating team. And he wasn't born in this country. And he's not a lone wolf, people. There's a lot of them out here, whether they're freaking from the United Emirates, whether they're from freaking China, whether they're from fucking Israel. I'm not picking on Punjabis, but they're involved in criminal activity, people. Why do you think the Punjabi community doesn't help me with the foundation? Why do you think I've been sitting on a foundation for 21 years? And then all halfway through that process, all of a sudden, all these so-called fucking professional people are doing everything in their freaking power to chip away at my family, to destroy my family, to make me look like I'm a fucking raving idiot, talking on about Uncle John, talking on about Sierra, talking on about ShaMay, talking on about Amari, talking on about my neighbors, more than one. Okay? Because they want to keep the status quo. That's why. Because they're organized crime. That's why. So, who do you trust? Now, when they took Uncle John, okay, I don't know how long this video is going to be. When they took Uncle John, I was going to write the head office. I'm pretty sure it was Uncle John or it was ShaMay. I don't know which one it was when it came to breaking the camel's back in terms of you can't do this by yourself. You need to get help. You need to take it to the federal government, wherever, through the head office, through RCMP, in order to and ask for an internal investigation, because the local cops out here aren't doing it. For whatever fucking reason, and I do believe many of them are directly involved with the organized crime and have already been bought off. Does that mean each and every cop has been bought off? No, I don't think so. Because after this last little shenanigans that's been going on, these beat cops running around in their vehicles and shit like that, like even when I went to the house and that cop came out and says, you need to go. If you notice, he didn't stand there and posture with me, get loud, you know, blah, blah. You know, he kind of humbled himself, people, because he fucking knew. That's why I said, you know that somebody wants this house. You know what's going on. Now, I'm trying to put myself in this cop's shoe, right? Because he kind of turned his back and, you know, he just said, you got to go. And then he just kind of put his head down and just pretended like, you know, he didn't know what was going on when he fucking knew what was going on, right? But he didn't want to rough me up, get all loud and bullyish. Right? Not to say that he wouldn't do it on a different day, but he didn't do it on that day. If anything, he humbled himself. And as I'm walking away, you know, I'm like, okay. And then I'm thinking about it. And then when they were all parked out in front here, now that is not unusual. Okay, I've been in this house for 12 years. They've been doing it ever since I moved in. So I don't see it as a threat when they come out here and they park and they, you know, do whatever, because it's a quiet road for them to get off and do their paperwork and do whatever it is, that have a coffee. I don't know what the fuck they do, but I just know that they've been doing it for 12 years. So I don't take it personally, people. I really don't. Obviously, Andre sees it as a threat because, you know, that frightened him. Right? You know, this guy sitting at the bottom of by blueberry bush with a freaking black shot. No, it wasn't a shotgun. It was a fucking machine gun. Let's face it. Okay? That really bothered him. And then all the boom, 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 boom with the shot, you know, the shooting and the blowing of the bombs, the smoke bombs and and you know, just 50 guys running around with gas masks and, you know, just that really disturbed him. That's why I let him do what he did with his Andre News, so that he had a chance to internalize it. and, speak it out and not be afraid, right? Not harbor fear, take control, right? Right? So now we're going to take it one step further, and I'm going to look for the iPad, like the tripods, and I'm going to get into the cameras. I'm going to change his computer. I'm going to install the editing programs. I'm going to encourage him and Jude to do, little mini reports on whatever, on a stop sign for all I care, okay? Graffiti in the neighborhood. They can talk about graffiti in the neighborhood and how it affects the community, right? Things like that. So that, he doesn't fall victim to this, people, because he's at high risk to be the next victim to this shit, which has been going on for a long time because it's being orchestrated by organized crime. So when those guys were out there, those cops with their 3 cars, right, and the one guy came and he just kind of went like this, right, and he just kind of, right, like, and I'm like, okay, well, clearly you're feeling remorse of some kind, right? You're feeling like you're helpless, right? Because really, technically, the RCMP are helpless. The good ones, that is. Not the ones running the crimes, people. Because they're in there, seeing that with that baby-faced fucking cop, okay, with Sierra. They're there. But there are also ones that are not like them. And maybe this is why Mayor McCullum, who got reelected the last election when it came to a mayor, right, wants to get rid of the RCMP because he's trying to get rid of the good cops. Okay? Get rid of the good cops, rehire the bad cops under the city of Surrey to continue being body snatchers. It just secures their position in life. I can see it happening. Okay? Because it's already been stated. If the mayor of this city is successful of getting rid of the RCMP in whole, they've already said that there's not enough cops to fill the slot, so they're going to have to hire some of the RCMP that basically got fired. So they're coming in under a new contract, right? Assuming that they take on the job, forfeiting on their pensions from a federal level, right? But then if they're trafficking body parts, it's no big fucking deal for them. And if anything, it's a win-win because they got rid of the good cops within the system, that is, when it's on a federal level through the RCMP. The problem is you don't know who the good cop is or who the bad cop is. You don't know who to trust. So, back in the day, I don't know if it was Uncle John, let me stay focused, or if it was finally with ShaMay, it was one of them. I think it was with Uncle John. I was going to try and contact, top brass in their head office in Toronto or wherever they are to do an investigation into the medical kidnapping of Uncle John. Okay? Because the paperwork is there. I just never filled it out, people, because, right? But there's too many stories to investigate now. It's like this was the icing on the cake. In my opinion, that guy was murdered if he's dead. Okay, that was a fucking assassination. All right? Seriously. I was here. I seen it. It was completely uncalled for. They took out a disturbed man who had a family that was crying out for help. Right? Not because they were trying to protect the community. It was because they were taking the orders to blow out the house because some motherfucker in the neighborhood wants that house and is paid somebody within the federal government, because that was federal. That was not the RCMP people. Okay, that has something to do with federal fucking government. I don't know if it's involved with Trudeau, with his new shit that he's doing now, with, trying to turn Canada into communism, into a communist country, or what it is, right? I think it's a combination of a few things. But it will definitely be interesting to see if Debbie's niece repairs that house and moves back into it, or repairs that house and rents it out, versus going into court, losing all her money, because they're gonna charge her for this, people. Okay? And she's either gonna cough it up and pay for it, or they're gonna take her to court, seize her house, take their lawyer fees, take their court fees, take their fucking cost of business, and leave her with a freaking dollar. Okay? And a dead husband that she'll never, ever, ever know what really happened to him. How do we know, people, that they didn't blow in something into that house through their smoke bomb, some new and improved freaking chemical that gassed him and made him explode inside the house, that is? And then they just came along and picked up all the little fucking scraps, put them in a little bag, carried them out to their freaking white vehicle, because we know what that was, people. It was not an ambulance, all right? And then they came in with their fucking water hose and just washed away the blood, okay? Like, I could see them fucking doing that shit. Testing out a fucking chemical on some dude sitting up in a house by himself, right? Right? Just to see how the chemical would react, okay? They can put anything on the door, right? And let's just say the chemical that they did use was legitimate in terms of whatever the fuck it was that they used. It clearly stated, I went back, I took a picture. I'm going to see if I can add it to this video so that we can see it for ourselves, what it says. If you have problems breathing, if you have this, go seek a medical attention immediately. Where was the ambulance, people? There was no ambulance. They only bombed that house with some dangerous chemical, but no ambulance came by to make sure he was okay. Yeah. And that's not fucking organized crime. And the woman, the wife, has no right, no way, no ability to have an independent autopsy to find out what the hell happened to her husband. I'm sure she still loves him. Just because you leave and you take the kids doesn't mean you don't love him. It just means your relationship is falling apart, and the community around you wants that to happen because they want what you own, whether it's your children and their organs or whether it's your house and the property. Okay? This is organized crime, people, and it's being facilitated from the Chinese, from the Punjabis, from other countries, from like the United Emirates and Israel, those and the ones with the money. They've embedded themselves into our governments. They've infiltrated our policing agencies to the point where the mayors want to bust up the RCMP to get rid of the good cops so that he can continue to hire on the bad cops and run that system of body snatching smoother without any interruptions, because they're all bad cops. Everybody's getting fucking paid off here. Okay? Well, I got cops running around out, and I'm like, yeah, I know you bastards are missing the good old days, aren't you? I know you are. You're missing them as much as me. I can see it. Because I'm trying to look from their point of view in terms of, well, this is my job. They tell me to do this. And if I step outside my bounds, I'm going to be targeted. Just like you, Miss Jorney. And I'm like, yeah, you got a lot to lose. You have a family, right? You have a home. You've been doing this for 15 years, 10 years, whatever, 5 years in terms of being a cop, RCMP, right? You can't afford to lose your pensions. I can respect that. Uncle John worked for his pension. He didn't deserve what he got, so why the hell would I wish that upon you? Right? Right? But they're not strong enough to fight back as a good cop among many bad cops. And the mayor is just trying to flush them out so that he can keep on the bad cops and keep business as usual. And these little houses are going to be picked off one by one, just like the families like mine picked off. When they're ready to take my house, trust me, people, they're going to fucking do something bad to fuck me over, to make it so that I implode from the inside. Because if they're not imploding you like they're imploding you like they did over there, they're going after your family members. Okay, in terms of ShaMay, Uncle John, Amari, Andre, Sierra, right? So if I, you see, now I've got, I don't want to say something of substance to write top brass in terms of RCMP to investigate, really investigate. Don't investigate what happened to me and my family per se, as investigate what the fuck is going on in this province, period, in general. Start with that place over there, because you think that's the first and last place that this has happened here in Surrey? Hell no. Hell no. It just happened to happen on my block, okay? Okay? It's happening all over the place, people, because they're trying to get rid of us by any means fucking necessary, so the property developer can come in and build their fucking buildings and prop up the economy. Yeah, prop up the economy. It's more like prop up the underground economy. So do I, and I'm like, well, you need to, because you're actually, you're kind of accusing the RCMP of body snatching and, criminal activity and blah, 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 blah through your lawsuits. So, it would only be, I don't want to say fair, but I guess it would be fair to let the freaking head office know that they're under a microscope. Right? It's in the Supreme Court. But you see, they don't need to worry, though, because the Supreme Court won't allow it to go to trial. The Supreme Court won't address it. They'll hide it. And before they'd even address it, they'll have something happen to me in my house. They'll use the yard. They'll use, who knows what they'll fucking use. I'll go for eye surgery, and they'll fuck up my eyes, people, to wipe me out. I can see it happening. That's like those 2 bottles of freezing agent where I'm spitting out the great green gobs, two of them, under the sun, and it's glowing. Okay? That was done with intent, people. Right? Like I said, I go see the eye doctor, I come back, my fucking eyes would get worse. They wouldn't get better, even if I was using the drops. Why, people? Well, maybe because you overfroze them. You ever stop to think about that? Okay? I'll go for eye surgery, and they'll say, oh, well, the risk is, so, but you don't really have a choice, so you better do it, so you do it, and then they'll fuck up, right, and everything won't fall apart, and then that will be their, cue to cover up what's going on in court, because I won't be able to defend myself, because I can't fucking see anymore, because I went for fucking cataract surgery, and it ended up blinding me. That's how it works. That's how organized crime works, people. Okay? I'm not saying that would happen, but I could see it happening. Because they're not going to want to deal with it in court. Even if I send it to the head office in Toronto with the RCMP, asking them to help and to start investigating this province in general, starting with Uncle John, starting with ShaMay, starting with Amari, starting with Sierra and Andre, starting with this house over here. Okay? Because it doesn't make the RCMP look good, people. All it does is make them miss the good old days. Okay? Unless, of course, they're a bad cop and they're benefiting from it. Because if a body was taken out of there, it's being harvested. Because for all we know, they could have went in there and taken that guy out, fucking killed him, and then blew out the house. So they kept his body nicely preserved without infecting it with chemicals. They just made it look like it was blown out and he was in the house. Okay? You weren't there to witness it. I weren't there to witness it. Nobody was there to witness it except those fucking goons. So much so that they had to put a guy in front of my doorstep to keep me in the house so that I wouldn't witness it. Because that's what they do, right? I don't know if I can trust the head office people. I don't know how deep the corruption is. I really don't. I don't know if my effort would make a difference in terms of justice. Justice for anybody. For anybody, including the RCMP. For the good ones. Right? Because what Mayor McCullum is proposing, and you see, this is where I should write the head office in the East. What Mayor McCullum, knowing what I know and what my family has been through and what I just witnessed, okay? Trust me, if he gets rid of the RCMP in terms of a federal policing agency, because that's what he's fighting for, and he's already said that he's going to hire on some of the RCMP out here that want to stay working out here because he has to fill up his city police force now. He will only hire the babyface cops who are fucking body snatchers. Point blank, period. Okay? Because it's organized crime. That's why. And it's sophisticated. And they use public tax dollars, public facilities, hospitals, the courthouse, the freaking jail system, just the whole 9 yards. So yeah, I think the RCMP head office should know that. What the citizens think of this whole shenanigan. Okay? And then maybe it might give them a foot to stand on and fight fucking back and put the corruption in place. Otherwise, it's just going to get worse, people. So I guess it doesn't really matter who you trust or who you can't trust. I guess the point is that you make the effort. And being that I've got enough stories to tell now, I think when it hits the freaking desk, they'll be like, damn, holy crumb, damn, oh my lord, what the heck? Yeah, this requires an investigation. Okay? Okay? That's the only thing I can think in terms of taking a negative and trying to turn it into something positive, although I expect no positive results because the corruption and the criminal activity is too far and wide and too deep. There are no checks and balances anymore. And the RCMP, the good cops, they know it. And that's why they're humbling themselves when they walk on by me, okay? Right? I'm not saying they can't turn and be a fucking viper on me when they get me cornered and think nobody's watching and they really don't like me. There's probably 1 and 2 in there that would really like to hurt me, like that babyface fucking cop, okay? But I don't think they're all like that. And you know why I know that, people? Because guess what? I got history with the cops. When I was a little girl, living at my grandma's house, remember, I used to speak German. I couldn't speak English. I don't know where I came from, but anyway, my grandma got me, and my mother was my brother's father was a police officer, and he had a German Shepherd dog. Anyway, that German Shepherd dog babysat me in my grandmother's yard, and it was a big, she had a big yard. I was 5 years old or so, 4.5, 5 years old. And that dog would keep me in the yard. It was the dog who babysat me when I was running around out in my grandmother's yard playing by myself. My playmate was a German Shepherd, a police dog, okay? And that dog kept me safe. All right? That's my history in terms of with police from a child's perspective. So it hasn't left me. Okay, it hasn't left me. But what's going on now is this UN crap. Okay, Agenda 30, whatever, you know, whether they're trying to depopulate the planet, whether they're trying to bring in communism, whether they're trying to, I don't know, transhumanism, who knows? I think it's a combination of everything. Okay? But I don't think every cop is on board with it, people. I think many of them, the good ones, are just as vulnerable as households like mine. And they don't know how to stand up and fight back as you know, an individual or even as a core group, because the corruption is so wide and deep. Right? Like, they're literally fighting the city to keep their fucking employment. Okay? I don't know how they're fighting it. I don't know if they're in court or what. The mayor is doing it through referendum, trying to get the community to vote them out. Right? But you see, the community is naive. They don't understand what they're voting in. They don't understand that you're going to get a clone of the babyface cop that's not interested in serving and protecting you. They're just interested in how much fucking money they're going to get after they harvest your organs. Or, sorry, they won't do that. They'll just make sure that the body gets to where it needs to go so that it can be harvested. Then they get paid. You see, that's the part that the community doesn't understand. And for the ones that do, they are making money off of it too, people. And that's why, or they're receiving those organs. And they're, for transplant, for scientific purposes, to build into their robotoids, or whatever, okay? They're benefiting. All right, actions speak louder for words. Actions speak louder than words. There's a reason why the Punjabi community hasn't helped me for 21 fucking years, okay? I'm telling you, it's because they benefit from this shit. If they're not getting the fucking houses and the land, they're getting the fucking organs, okay? Does that mean that every Punjabi is corrupt? No. Just like with the RCMP. No, not every RCMP is corrupt. However, if I write the head office and I say, look at this story, look at this story, look at this story, here's some general evidence. It's in the court. It's in the Supreme Court. You might want to fucking show up on the September 19th of 2022, being that I'm there accusing you of all this shit. Maybe that might be enough just to get some good cop sitting up in freaking Ontario or Toronto or wherever to get the process going in terms of a proper investigation, a federal investigation, and start shutting down some of this criminal activity that is literally destroying lives. Okay? Breaking up families, bankrupting only certain homeowners. Only certain homeowners. Okay? Debbie's niece is not a Punjabi. She's white. And she sure in the heck ain't Chinese. She's white. So she doesn't have that network of support to hold back the criminals. She's a victim to them. Her children are a victim to them. Her husband was a victim to them, as the government protects the criminals by making it impossible for that woman to have an independent autopsy in the event that her husband is dead. So she will never, ever, ever know the truth outside of what my videos exposed. Anything she hears will all be fucking hearsay. But my videos, if I ever find her and come into contact with her, I will make sure she gets a copy of it. Not that it will help her, because even if she was to take court, like I said, you can't, because the court system is corrupt. They're there to prevent justice. They're not there to help the public. They're there to protect the fucking criminals, okay? How are you going to get somebody like that in the head office, somebody that can expose that stuff through an investigation? How are you going to reach that person when you don't even know who to trust? So, I'm like, don't get too bent out of shape. Nothing, you only can do so much in a day, just like anybody else. Don't beat up on the RCMP. You've been beating up on them for a long time in light of their ineptness and their apathy and their negligence, but that doesn't mean that every fucking cop is a bad cop, right? Just keep that in mind, right? And clearly, just through their body language right now, I can see that they feel like fucking heels, and that they themselves weren't impressed with that fucking shenanigan shit, right? Clearly they were at arm's length to it and couldn't stop it, because that was something freaking came from some other office. Okay, it was ordered by somebody else. I don't think it was ordered by the RCMP. Okay, like I said, they shuffle their little fucking paperwork, figuring out where they're gonna put, how they're gonna get these problematic individuals that they want to harvest into the Brady house. There is no Brady house. The Brady house is the tomb, people. And even then, there's a back room door in the fucking tomb, and they put it in the ground, and it's making it look like it's in the tomb. And then they come in underneath the fucking ground. They open up the fucking tomb, and they take out the body, and they go off and they do their little science experiments, and they create themselves another fucking super soldier, and then they take them out into community and they target the next fucking house, okay? Like I said, it will be interesting to take those faces and put them under freaking exposure to see what we get. Are we dealing all with human beings? I don't think so. Not in this day and age. Not in this day and age. So I can't dwell on the negativity per se. What I need to do is nurture my grandson so that he can survive this God-forsaken nightmare that he was born into by no fault of his own, and he's going to have to learn to navigate and be able to find ways to protect himself. And if he should ever have his own family, which I've already told him, Andre, don't have kids, just help look after Amari, because the more kids that are being born under these circumstances are more children at risk to repeat the cycle. Okay? Unless, of course, you're one of them. If you're one of them, yeah, then they're going to breed like fucking flies. Because they're predators. Right? It's safe for them to breed because they're predators. But if you're the one being preyed on, protect your children before they're even born. Or you're going to end up like me, with half of them fucking dead, the other one's already being targeted. Okay? And they'll live torturous lives because the corruption is so deep. How deep? I don't know. I just know I have enough stories to make somebody like, whoa, maybe she has a point. Maybe she has a point. Maybe it's time to go into BC and clean the swamp. Huh? Maybe. And then that's when the good cops will come out and help with that process. Because as it is right now, they're I don't want to say they're impotent, but yeah, basically. They're helpless. They can't do it on their own. And there's not enough of them to do it. And I don't believe they're all on board with this bullshit. I don't. I just don't, people. I just don't. I don't know if it's because I'm in denial or what. But it's funny how I'm thinking about that German Shepherd in the yard with me when I was a little girl, don't you think? Right? I remember that dog, okay? It was a professional police dog. And it protected me. Kept me in the yard. And my grandmother had a big, big yard. So, the way I'm going to tackle this with Andre to try and make it fun and an enjoyable experience, and I'm going to leave it on this note. Obviously, I want to foster, his interest, right? And he showing an interest in Andre's news. because, you know, he sees me, right? You know, talking and doing things. So, you know, when I'm out doing the rocket stove and, you know, he picks up little character traits, right? My other kids did too, right? But besides some of them, not all of them. But anyway, I'm thinking to go off and buy a speaker amp. It's about $900. And it's an amp that can either be plugged in to electricity or you recharge it and it can run without electricity. But what it does is it allows you to plug in your DJ turntables, your mixer, your mics, your headphones. Well, no, that's what the mixer's for. The mixer is for the mics, the headphones, and anything else like CD player. But it's an amp. It's an amp / speaker. So it plugs into, right? And it's about $900. And it's portable. And it won't take a lot of space. That's the only thing that I need to set up the whole system. I have everything, people. Okay, it's just I don't want to be clunking out old speakers and an old amp. But I have, like, the Technique turntables. I have the mixer. I have the headphones, but I would buy another set of headphones because there'd be more than one kid, right? I have tons of mics. I have wireless mics, mics with wires. I just don't have... Anyway, that's what I'm thinking to do. And then once a week, out in the front yard, I'll let the kids, the boys, start with Andre and Jude, and let them, I don't care, just let them set it up, learn, so they can learn how to plug everything in through experience, right? And, you know, have the little camera and, you know, and I need to have a yard sale. I gotta sell off my shit because we know it's just a matter of time before my house is blown out too, right? Or it's either blown out or it's gonna be imploding because they want this house, just like they want that house, to tear down every fucking house. They don't care where the people go to. Okay, it's like this from block to block to block to block. Like I told you, the mayor, after he got elected, gave the green light to cut down 50,000 trees, people, 50,000 trees. Well, what do you think those 50,000 trees are standing next to? A whole bunch of houses, okay? So the green light was to get rid of the houses, cut down the trees, and, you know, improve the neighborhood with fucking leaky, shitty fucking buildings that look terrible and sit empty and nobody can afford to live in, but for some reason it stimulates the economy and it makes it the best place to live. Okay, I don't get it. It doesn't add up. So, you know, I have to be a role model for my grandson, right? And, you know, it's like he's at that age now, you know, like back in the day when my kids were that age, I used to go out and do things in the community. I can't go out and do things because, you know, they took out a soldier when they killed off my daughters and left me with a severely disabled child and no access to a lawyer and none of this crap, right? You know, I right? So, but I can set up that equipment in my front yard, and being that I gotta sell off my shit anyway, some of it, all of it, I don't know. We'll have a little yard sale. The boys can do whatever they want. I'll get Andre thinking on, well, let's go to the grocery store. You know, you want to report on something? Report on the cost of food. Try and get him to incorporate questions, writing, subject matter, right, conclusion, just write in a way that his mind can absorb the information, learn the pattern, and then be able to practice it through experience, so that by the time he's a man, even if he struggles with reading, because he may very well have that issue, right, the gap will be closed because of what was, you know, learning and how he was learning it. right? In terms of practice. And I always tell him, practice makes perfect, right? And it's not like he'll be doing everything by himself, where, you know, his weak points are, Jude will have strong points. Where Jude's weak points are, Andre will have strong points. We're dealing with different personalities here. Clearly you can see that when the boys were doing their reporting, right? I was impressed with both of their styles. They had two different styles. They just need to get a little more organized, and I guess you could say, quote unquote, professional with it, right? So that's the point of allowing them to set up the DJ equipment out in the front. You know, we can set up a little craft table. I've got tons of crafts here. Right, so, you know, $2 a craft for people walking by. So if they're walking by with their kids, you know, or $5 for a craft, depending on, like, you know, they can sit at the table, listen to what the kids are doing with the mics and, you know, the music or whatever it is, and you know, they can, like a little fundraiser, right? You know, something, because I can't go to the subsidized housing across the street, people. They won't allow me because I don't live there, and because I don't live there, I can't go onto the property. Because this is BC housing, right? I can't go into the property and do any kind of community activity because of insurance. They told me I can go out into the field across the street, do whatever I want. Back in those days, before they started building that building down there, the one with all the lights. But I tried that, but it didn't really work out, right? So, because there was a lot of homeless people and stuff. So but if I do it out in front, I don't care if nobody walks by. I'm not doing it first for the neighborhood, as I am allowing the kids that participate with Andre in that process. And then second, it's for anyone that walks up and down the neighborhood. Okay? If they want to come by and they could have a little lemon stand, you know, right? If you can't afford to buy a glass of lemon juice for $1, heck, we'll give it to you, right? If you're thirsty and it's hot, okay? Right? I'm just right? I think this is what I'm going to try and nurture this summer. So that Andre and his little friend and whoever else, because as it is right now, at this complex, these kids, all they basically do, see, this is why Jude's mom likes him hanging out with Andre, because it takes him away from the petty pecking that goes on in a complex where kids just basically run wild. Okay? Anyone been in low-income housing, they know what I'm talking about. Okay, the few times that Andre tried to go over there and play with his friend, all the other little boys, and most of them, ended up picking fights with Andre, pushing him, throwing sticks and stones at him, and Andre would come home crying. And then, of course, the parents would blame Andre because Andre was the new kid on the block, and then when I'd approach the parents and say, well, blah, blah, blah. Then when it comes to their kids, it's just boys will be boys. So he's never allowed to go over there. Because it's unpredictable. You know, he doesn't like that. And so, and Jude plays a lot over here. And by being over here, they get to do the rocket stove and, you know, they get to do interesting things here. Well, this year they're going to even do more interesting things. And if those parents over there don't want their kids coming over here and being a part of that process, because they're more comfortable with just having the kids running around being boys in a complex with nothing to do other than to be running around and, you know, being whatever they do in there, then so be it. Because they're never allowed to come over, because the parents sit inside their apartments, and or their little whatever it is, and they don't come out, and because they feel that their kids are safe in the complex, running around like little hoodlums in the complex, right? they don't allow them to cross over and play with Andre, right? So, but then I can't let Andre go over there, because as soon as he goes over there and starts running around with the group, he ends up being kicked, thrown things at, hit with sticks, whatever. And if he tries to defend himself, all the parents blame him. So he never plays over there. And it's not like the kids don't want to play with him, some of them, because they do. But they're not allowed to cross over the street because their parents are sitting inside their houses and they don't want to be worrying about where their kids are, even though they're all running around like little maniacs in the freaking courtyard, throwing sticks and just doing whatever. But maybe if I set out the front, right, the parents might come. Hold on a minute. Okay, so what happens is I turn on the heat, right? And it just gets, dust comes up and moves things around. Just gets, the air gets real dry. Okay, so as I was saying, you know, you only have so long to live on this planet, and you only have so long to instill happy experiences, positive experiences, means for, you know, that footing in terms of a solid foundation as children are growing up. So I've decided, like, you know, I'm just going to purchase this amp, okay? And I've already mentioned it to Andre, and I figure once the boys get it set up, right, I mean, obviously I'm involved with it, right? And, you know, after 2 or 3 tries, they're going to know exactly what to do. And because they're getting bigger and stronger, and, you know, they got different strengths, and they accent each other, right? I'm just going to let them do it. And as they're doing it, I'm going to bring out crafts, right? Maybe I'll make, when the light guy came, the guys, right, they asking me, do you ever use these cake pans that I have up here? And I'm like, well, no, not lately. It's not like you know, right? Maybe we'll make some cakes, and, you know, we'll have a cake sale, right? You know, it's my property. It's private property, right? Right? You know, and a little craft table, and, you know, then there will be the yard sale stuff, right? And they'll have the mic and musical instruments, and, you know, they'll have records. They'll learn how to DJ. I figure a DJ will be born. By the end of summer, we'll know who has the real skill for DJing, right? Because, you know, everybody's got weaknesses and strengths. And then, you know, it's as people walk up and down, right, they're going to, you know, ask questions. I leave a flyer, you know, promote the foundation, right? No, I'm not there to rally for justice for ShaMay or none of that stuff, okay? It's very hard being a founder to a foundation, having all this drama, and then trying to separate yourself and promote the foundation the way it was intended to be promoted, right? So this is all about the kids, the community. It's a means to bridge the gap that's going like this, where through that process, being that the cops like to park their vehicles up here, they'll be nosy, right? They'll be coming by and, well, what are you boys doing over here? Right? You know, it might help to mend some issues, right? It will be a means for children to be able to get back to the good old days where there's a level of trust. Trust is a big one, people. And then, of course, respect, right? It breaks down barriers, is what I'm trying to say, right? It will help to mend the community, not completely, like heal, right? Like heal, mend, right? But it just allows people to relax and reconnect, right? And take away from the cops are the bad guys all the time, right? Right? Because that's the kind of society that we're going into, right? More and more with the shenanigans going on from the upper organized crime level, okay? So, you know, I'm hoping that, you know, there will be healthy interactions And the police would be, what are you guys doing? Oh, well, right? And they'd be like, oh, and then they can give the kids a sticker, like the good old days, right? Tell the kids that they're doing a good job, right? And then, of course, they'll have to report on it in terms of news reporters, right? Talking about what they're doing, right? And why they're doing it, right? And then in that situation, that's probably when I will allow Andre to build on his own YouTube channel and BitChute. BitChute because it's a little more freer in terms of if we've got music playing for whatever reason, it's not like it is with YouTube. Right? So, there's a fine line in there, right? But don't forget, I'm going to be bringing out musical instruments and stuff, so it's not all DJ shit, but I definitely want them to be able to have that experience, right? And build on those skills, right? And as for those parents over there that never allow their kids to come over here and play with Andre, and even when Andre goes over there and tries to play with those kids, boys will be boys to the point where the parents stick their noses out the door and say, well, Andre is the one that's the troublemaker. Really, he shouldn't be here. He can go home because we're quite comfortable with the boys in that complex just running around being boys. And then they close the door and they go back into their suite. Maybe a few of those parents might come over here with their kids and do a craft, or let their child participate with the kids at the DJ equipment. Whether they do that, whether they don't, remains to be seen, right? We don't discriminate, so, right, doesn't matter who's walking up and down the road. If they want to come and have a glass of lemon juice, or do a craft, or buy a book, it is what it is, right? And I think that's how I'm going to do it. I'm trying to take that negative and turn it into a positive. Andre's showing an interest in reporting news. I'm going to tell him that news is not all bad. And even if it is in terms of like the cost of food rising, there are solutions to that. That's why we have the foundation, so that we can build in solutions. Not that I expect the kids to take on the adult role and solve the problems of the adults, but they can report on it and maybe get more adults involved. Of course, I'm going to be wearing my Mayor X hat. We know that. And then I'm going to be bringing these out. I might even get a few more made. Okay? So next time you see Andre reporting on anything, which will probably be soon because they kind of want to do it, right? And I'm not going to tell them they can't. I'm going to have them wear the hats. I've got a couple more of these in my bedroom. So, after I set up the equipment out in front, right? If some little kid comes by and wants to hang out by the DJ equipment, well, if I have a hat, they can wear a hat for the day, right? I can't give it to them because I can't afford it, but they can wear it for the day. Am I worried about head lice? No, because I can wipe things down, right? So, and then, I'm working with HSBC Bank. As a matter of fact, after this video, I can't deal with this for a while because I have paperwork to do. I have to write another letter of direction for HSBC Bank for this week to take what little bit of money that were in those 10 accounts, right? It wasn't much, people, because I haven't been doing anything, okay? I've been dealing with grief, okay? And they're going to just take that and they're going to put it in 808, I think, or 801. I don't know. I have to go back into my email and double check it. And then that will be, I don't know. I'm not sure. I can't think right now. And then one account, because I left two open. One for online stuff like this, maybe. Okay? To build in an income so that we can build in programs somewhere, somehow, some way. I'm not sure yet. And then the other one is just an account that I can use to branch off into all the different ledgers that I have, because I have lots of ledgers. You'll see that when I start doing my PDF files, okay? Just because an account has been closed doesn't mean that the ledger is closed. Remember that. Okay? So I got to do that. So it's not just go out in the front yard and make a bunch of noise with a bunch of kids, okay? We're doing it for a purpose. Right? And it's helping the kids to build lifelong skills and confidence and self-esteem. And it's also being used as a means to mend bridges that have, you know, been like gaps, right? To bring a community back together, right? In terms of healthy relationships. Okay? So that's what I think I'm going to do. And then, of course, we got our BitChute hat here. Right? So we'll do a couple of exclusive BitChute exclusives on Andre's News. That's what I think I'm going to do. Now, I'm going to leave it on this note. I've talked to my son. I straight up asked him if he was being pussy whipped. He said no, he wasn't. I said, are you sure? He goes, no. Anyway, I just told him that with this situation, I don't know, people. I don't know how much time I have left. I really don't. I'm not out of the woods. I'm a targeted individual, don't forget. If I'm not getting hit up with energy weapons in my yard, I'm getting double dosed with freezing agents. And I haven't even gotten a referral yet. And they gave me these glasses, which it costed $100 through my healthcare plan. I'm telling you, it's no different than a dollar store glass. I'm going to phone them up. I'm going to say, what the hell did you sell me? What would you charge the government for? Because the government paid for these things. They're flimsy. They're like dollar store glasses. And as soon as I get to it, I can't see. I can see okay over there. But it's all, from here to there with a camera, it's all blurry. It's pathetic. I can't use them. I'm still using my only pair of dollar store glasses. I can't use these on the computer. Nothing. I can't even walk around in the fucking kitchen and do shit in there with these. In terms of going to the kitchen sink, grabbing some potatoes, and trying to peel potatoes. I can't do it. I either take my glasses off or put these ones back on. And these are my dollar stores. So I don't know what the hell they're charging $100 to the government for when it's worse than a dollar store glass. Okay? This is what I'm saying. I don't know how much longer I have, people. I told my son this. I said, you know, he said, well, Mom, if you clear out, you know, Tisha's bedroom, right, I'll give you X amount of dollars, and I'll plus the living room, right? Half the living room. I said, I don't care. I'll just put it in storage, and I'll, you know, I'm wanting to open up a bookstore and online and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, it's like, because, you know, I really don't want a stranger down there, but, you know, if you really want to go, you can go. But you have to understand that, you know, Tisha doesn't want to look after me, and, you know, there's going to come a time when, you know, I think it might be you, right? You know, assuming that you want that responsibility, because it's not just me. I come with baggage. There's Amari. And like, I'm laying on the couch. Amari's on the other side. My son's standing there looking down on us. And I said, well, you're not just looking after me. I said, you know, I got baggage. There's Amari right there. Don't forget, right? It's not just me. It's Amari too, right? My son says, oh, yeah. He's going to talk to his girlfriend, to which she's a child out of 4. She was like ShaMay. She's 3rd child. So she's not an only child. He's going to talk to her, see if she wants to, I don't know, I don't know, people. I just don't know. So if my son said he'll get back to me, he'll let me know. I mean, if he wants to go, that's okay. I know somebody would love to live down there, okay, in terms of security for the amount of time that we have left in this house, because we're all sitting ducks out here. If we're renters, or even homeowners for that matter, depending on the homeowner. If that was a Punjabi, probably that would never, if that house was owned by a Punjabi, you know, chances of that happening probably wouldn't have happened to that degree. That is, they took out the house, people. I'd be very, very, very surprised if that house is renovated and somebody else moves in. There's the cost to do that with the amount of damage in terms of the chemical. No, it's going to go up for sale because it's going to be seized. They're going to make the homeowner pay for that shit as they tweak their fucking files. So in the meantime, I think, being that I have enough stories to tell and evidence to go with those stories, and I did file a legitimate lawsuit in the Supreme Court of Canada, and I am calling out the RCMP with their shenanigans, as the mayor of this city is trying to force out the RCMP so he can hire his own workforce with some of the same RCMP that are running the shenanigans in this district right now, aka that babyface cop. I think the top brass needs to know what the hell is going on and do a thorough investigation into the whole province, because the cartel is deep in terms of organized crime. Yeah. So that's paperwork. That's all that is. It's just piecing in as I'm working on my document list. It should, you know, once I get focused on that, it should be pretty straightforward. Okay? Actions speak louder than words. Right? And then help to mend bridges, or whatever you want to call those things. Give the community an opportunity to heal and mend itself, so that it becomes more empowered and more self-empowered and feel safe. Feel safe, because whatever these guys are doing right now, they're not making anybody feel frickin' safe. There's nothing feeling safe about this, okay? Nothing. Because that was just, that's been going on in other parts, okay? We're not always there to see it. We just happened to be there on the 22nd to see it. And if you notice, I'm probably the only one who recorded it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so anything else? Oh, I have a letter to write for HSBC Bank. I want to start selling hats online, those kind of things. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but, right, I do. And I'm going to go buy that. I'm like, oh, do you really want to take on another bill? Because I have to do it in payments, right? But that's where my rap sheet is that Long and McQuaid. Yeah, I got a rap sheet there, people. So that's just one more on the rap sheet. Okay. Yeah, like the good old days, right? I'm actually looking kind of forward to it. It would be nice to be able to see people happy. That's it, just happy. Happy and feeling good and feeling free and feeling, safe. I'm looking forward to it. I really, really am. And I'm looking forward to seeing the kids, like Amari with the milestones, right? Just every week they can set up. They don't have to be really loud and obnoxious, just disturb the neighborhood. But it's like, you know, it goes and flows, right? Sometimes you're a little louder, sometimes you're a little quieter, right? You know what I mean? You go with the crowd kind of thing. It's all learned through experience, right? You have your busy moment, and then you have your, you know, your quiet moment, right? And they can do that out there for freaking 7 hours, 8 hours. I don't care. Right? I might sell a lot of stuff. That would be good for me. Right? Get the people off my back. What the fuck? Leave me alone. I sold half my house already. What more do you want? Right? And then I'll be facing homelessness because there's no affordable housing. Think about it, people. Think about it. And when you got an influx of homeless people with nowhere to go, right? Tapping out the public resources in terms of social assistance and all that other crap, what happens next? They start disappearing, right? They start dying, right? To get rid of the problem, right? And I'm telling you, they're being penciled in through our courthouses, through our justice system, through our crown prosecutor, okay? And that's what I'm going to be writing with to Toronto or wherever. I'm going to let them know that's what they did with Sierra. She was lured to her death 4 days after she was, 2 days after she was released from jail. She was lured to her death, and by the 4th day, she was dead with a whole bunch of fucking cops hiding evidence, people, as they denied me access to identify my own dead daughter's body, assuming that she was dead, as they were protecting the person that they were investigating. Okay, that doesn't sound very professional, and this is what Mayor McCollum wants to replace in terms of get rid of the RCMP, but keep on the good old boys that do the dirty work. Okay? Yeah, that's I think if I was top brass, I'd want to know about that.